Hello everybody, I'm Ard, and welcome to another episode of Minecraft Enigmatica 2 Expert. This week, we're going to go a little bit off menu and do something quite a bit before we actually need to do it. Just to get a stock of something that's relatively a pain to get later that we need a lot of. And I'll give you a hint. It requires one of these. It's another star. It means I had to go kill a wither. Hopefully my last wither ever, because we're going to go build us a wither farm. To do this, what we need is a wither builder, which is just like every other industrial foregoing machine, except it requires another star. So we can put this together pretty quickly. The other thing we need is a mob crusher, which, well, we've made several of those, also pretty easy. And the last thing are wither dust blocks, which are just made from wither dust, which are made from bones that you get out of your wither skeleton farm. These blocks, it doesn't say it on here, but these blocks can't be blown up by a wither's initial explosion, which is why you use these. There are other options. If you just search for wither inside JEI, you'll see other things like from Environmental Tech that say wither proof on them. And there's a few others that don't list that as well. I couldn't even begin to give you the whole list, guys. There are a couple other options, but this one we have tons of these wither bones, so this isn't even an issue. So we're just going to use these blocks for now. And you can actually turn them into slightly different looking colored ones. I don't know if I'm going to bother because black is hard to see anyways, but you know, we'll see what happens when I actually build the cage for it. So let me go make the machines and a compact machine to toss it in, because I don't want there to be any chance I blow up my own base doing this. Bad idea. Okay, so I've got the farm set up at a basic level. I just shoved it up on the wall behind me here because I needed double access to a slave that's connected to the drawer network to get things into it. This is where I screwed up with all of my farms. I really need to move this to a dedicated area so I can have better inputs and outputs to all of them. And I'll have to create that somewhere in the near future. I also need to remove all the power generators inside all of them to make them easier to move around. So when I go move them to their own building, I won't have to move all the farms too. But anyhow, let's go take inside and go take a look at what I did. So what I did was I just created a 5x5x4 cube of wither block dust. It's bigger than you actually need to contain the wither. I think you only need 3x3x4, but I can't remember for sure. But it's bigger than it needs to be, just in case. I haven't actually tested this out yet. I don't know for sure this is going to work. But the wither builder is sitting here under the bottom, roughly in the center. Oops, I actually need to move it one over, but we'll do that before I test it. And then the mob crusher is up there and covers the whole area inside the cage. Do not forget to cover the top of your cage, folks. Withers can fly. It will escape and blow everything up. But let me move that, and then let's test it, and let's watch the scary fireworks. Okay, I've got all the items. Let's shove them in there and hope this works. Oh, there it goes. It's healing up. Slowly building. There should be an explosion in a second. There it goes, and it's dead. So, oh no, but it did blow up the power to the wither builder. Interesting. So I'll have to figure out why that happened and try to fix that. Otherwise, this isn't sustainable. But it should be something minor. But everything else appears to be intact and worked correctly. Although I don't see any loot in here, so that's not ideal. But that's a start. Okay, so I figured out why it wasn't dropping loot. The mob crusher was one block above the ground level and the loot was dropping on the ground, so it wasn't actually picking it up. That was not smart on my part. If you look in it now, you can now see that it does have loot. I also added a fortune add-on. With Fortune 3, I figured out at least a way to get them now that I'm easily getting diamonds. I just created a bunch of diamond shovels and then enchanted those now that I had basically infinite experience, and then waited till I got a Fortune 3. So we've got this loaded up now. Let's do the scary thing of turning it on and make sure this works. There it goes. 2 withers in there. Let's make sure this doesn't blow up the cage or anything. 3 withers. And a bunch of loot. But we still have skulls here, and now something's... Oh. Well, that's a problem. I solved this problem by moving the pipe under the wither builder, but that doesn't help me with this one. Let's see, I either have to make signalum to combine the pipes, which sounds like a bad idea, or I'm just going to have to use an Ender IO conduit, which is, I think, what I'm going to do. So give me a little bit to make some conduits and some power cables and rewire this. Alright, take two, but with Ender IO conduits. So if you're unfamiliar with Ender IO conduits, they can stack on top of each other. So if you notice, like, I have the item conduit and the power conduit in the same block. There's also redstone ones and fluid ones. They can all stack in the same spaces. So they're very useful from that perspective. For the long time, Ender IO conduits were extremely overpowered. They were pretty much the go-to for piping just because they're so easy to use. And they have insanely good filtering options. But if we look into it here, you can see that there's a function upgrade slot here, and that it says that the max speed is 4 items per operation, which means these pipes are very slow. They're worse than even like the base servo for item ducts are. And to upgrade them, you need to use these extract speed upgrades. The problem is, these aren't too bad to make, except you need 16 of them per conduit to max them out. So that's, in this pack, 16 pistons and 32 electrical steel. Just a giant pain to make these. I've done it before because I was testing stuff out, but it's not something I want to do for my big layouts. And honestly, Ender IO conduits aren't the end-all be-all of piping solutions in this pack anyhow. But they're very good if you need them for a cramped solution like this. So let me go turn this on, and let's go make sure this works this time. Yep, here we go. Everything's stacking up. Hopefully the pipes won't explode this time. I've already got things piping back out to my output, so the storage is good for that. Wow, that's a lot of withers. Wow, that's actually hurting me. So I would say this is a pretty successful test. But my stuff's going to run out pretty soon. Yep, and getting tons of loot. Oh, I didn't call for the sulfur, but I think I have a slot for that already. Oh, and it blew up the conduit. I'm going to have to lower that down further. But so far, it seems to actually work fairly well. So I guess we'll keep this running and see if we can improve it. While we're inside and looking at the Mob Crusher, you might have noticed one of the pieces of loot was this Withering Soul, and this is actually interesting and probably should automate this, because one of the things this can do is make 3 Wither skeleton skulls, which can make another Wither. So these actually self-propagate themselves a little bit over time, a little faster than just waiting for Wither skeleton skulls. I'm also going to toss some extra utils upgrades inside my Resturb spawner to get more skeletons in general, and then upgrade the looting module in that one to make more. But I'll do that off camera because you don't need to see that. That's relatively boring. But let's go through all the loot chests we got from all of the industrial foregoing machines we've made recently. Alright, looks like there's only 6 this time. Let's go through them. Another shield, resonant conversion kits. That's actually really useful. That'll allow me to upgrade my turbines. Nope, just a sapling. Lava wood, not great. So premium water can. If I was watering by hand still, this would be insanely good. This waters over an extremely large area. I might actually want to try to automate this, but we'll see. It's not that useful. My farm's not that great. We don't need the crops we're getting out of right now. Maybe when I'm doing mystical agriculture stuff. And stone bricks. So I think it's safe to say the best thing we got by a pretty large margin was this watering can, and this is actually super powerful. If we'd gotten it earlier, this would have been absurd. Still might be. I mean, I can't overstate exactly how good this is. That said, given that we're getting some premium essences out of our wither farm, we could potentially make it ourselves. We could actually build backwards and kind of cheat our way through mystical agriculture since we're getting these straight from the farm, which is an interesting thing in its own right. Well, now we are officially ahead of our game for a change on at least one thing. Now we don't have to deal with getting nether stars much later in the game and we need tons of them. We'll just slowly get them over time from our farm while we're doing everything else. So this is like a really good progress for today, something I hadn't intended to do this early, and yet here we are. As always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.